What's up, guys? So I'm just going to be testing out the Resident Evil Village demo with the RX 6700 XT. I wanted to see how it would go through ultra-wide 1440p, normal 1440p, and 1080p. So I'll just show you the settings real quick. I've basically cranked everything because we want to see how badly it performs, like 3440 by 1440. Everything is absolutely maxed out. Rendering mode, just leave it on normal because I don't think interlace is what we want. That looks slightly better. Done. I will just leave it on normal because I'm not sure about that setting. Image quality looks to be resolution scale, so it's kind of confusing because it doesn't say resolution scale, and when I turn it up, it doesn't simply look like it's enhancing the image's resolution. It actually looks like it's adding view distance or texture detail. And it goes all the way up to 2, where you're at 11 gig usage, which is a 12 gig card, and if you push the VRAM usage too high, it'll actually cause a periodic stutter. Now, I want to try it at 2 just to see what it does, but at the same time, yeah, it's kind of confusing, because as you can see, trees are disappearing as I turn it down. The thickness of the foliage is disappearing. So, I don't know, we'll try it with 2, and we'll see if it stutters, and if it does, I'll just turn it down in the middle of the video. And as well, you know, we've got everything else maxed out. It only goes up to 8 for the texture quality here. So yeah, that resolution, that image quality is not resolution texture quality. Variable rate shading is, I'm not sure if this is across for NVIDIA and AMD, but I know that it is good to run. It's kind of like, it's not DLSS, but it helps performance with minimal image quality loss. So if you can enable it, it's better to just run it, because you won't like lose any real detail as long as you don't go into performance mode. As you can see there, you can't even tell. Even with performance mode, you can barely tell, but I'll just leave it on balanced. And then everything else is just completely maxed. Ray tracing's on, and these are the two options that appear for ray tracing. It's GI, global illumination reflection, and light reflection. And it's kind of weird because normally the picture should change when you go through them to see what the difference is, and it is very, very mild. So as you can see, high does look a little bit better on the reflections, but medium, like, you can't even tell. And then low, you do see like a little bit more blurring on the detail there in the floor. But we'll just leave it on high because we can adjust it down. We'll start everything maxed out, and then everything else, yeah, turned on, and shadow quality max, shadow cache on. We might be able to, like, because we've got settings maxed out and we're already at 11 gigabytes usage, we might be able to get that a little bit lower by turning shadow cache off, but you can see the processing load actually goes up because it's got to process more. So I don't know, we'll have to find the balance in there. But otherwise, everything is maxed, and then film noise is off because it just doesn't look good to me. I don't know why. Graphical effect, like you can see on the right of this picture, it just looks stupid. But I guess for some, they like that old school look. So anyway, for me, it's silly. And now we'll go into the game. It only gives us 1 hour to test, so this is not going to be a demo playthrough. It's going to be more me testing the settings and seeing how the settings respond. So if you wanted a game playthrough, I might, if I've got enough time left after this, I might do a second upload, which is just playing the actual demo rather than messing with settings. I'll find the optimal settings first in this video. So we'll start with Village. Let's go casual because we're testing settings. And as you can see, it's limited to 60 minutes, which really sucks, but oh well. We'll make the most of it. Hopefully. I'm just going to be losing my 1 hour to test settings.
In life and in death, we give glory.
Hello?
That's not great.
You shouldn't be out here. It's not safe.
So yeah, 20 FPS.
Hey, can you hear me?
But this could be some kind of cutscene.
It's you, the child's father.
Child? Hey, wait. Do you mean Rose? Is she here?
Rose!
That
Rose!
does look really good, though.
She is in great danger. Since Mother Miranda brought her to the village, we have
Out
fallen
of
into
sync.
darkness.
What are you talking about? The monsters?
The castle bell heralds danger.
So I'm guessing the
They're
low FPS. Oh, I
coming.
can actually move now. I can
No.
move the camera.
Wait, where's
But,
Rose? Who's Mother Miranda?
The
I'm going to skip that, sorry. that would be nice to watch, but
Rose is here?
the frame rate is affecting the cutscene lip syncing audio, which was really frustrating. So you can see this is just unplayable. The VRAM usage is really high, and this is probably mostly due to the combination of high resolution and having RTX on. But we will double check that this setting, this resolution, this image quality setting is not the main cause. So we'll drop that back down to what the default was 1. And it does look like a resolution scale setting. The way that it got 0.5, that's usually 50%, and then you can scale it up. So I could have been playing on 200% resolution scale, and that would explain the horrible FPS we first got. We're going to try that now and see if the FPS goes... Yeah, that's a lot more normal. See that? The aim looks... That's it. That's aiming. There's no iron sights. Depth of field looks really bad with the gun. So I'm going to disable depth of field. So this is going into the... We're trying to actually make the game look decent, and we don't want effects that don't look good, because it makes no sense. Depth of field is like good for some things, but like as you can see in this picture, I'll just show you real quick. Depth of field, if I turn it on and off, it actually makes hair look better. The hair looks more, I don't know, not so wavy, but the background blurs, and you know the player's eyes are focusing on different things, so it's kind of useless in terms of realism. Where you're looking on the screen also matters. So that looks much better. The actual handgun is clear now, but still 45 FPS. It does feel a bit sluggish. It's one of those games where your frame rate seems to severely affect the gameplay. And you can see that lady, the photo cutscene, it wouldn't let me go to the options of that part. It only let me skip it. So at least we can see we're getting around 54 FPS. It is pretty stable, but we want to go higher, obviously. So we're going to look back into the game settings, and obviously the first thing you'd want to disable is RTX, but we'll try lowering it first, just to try, before we do any other tweaking. And we could try turning Brave now. We'll leave that on because, as I said, you can look it up for yourself. Variable rate shading is really good for performance with minimal detail loss. So we turn it, as you can see here in the image, medium looks basically the same as high, but it might run a bit better, so we'll try that. And then high lighting, it's like a really subtle difference. Shading on the little thing on the desk, I don't think anyone really noticed that. You'd have to be looking so closely. We've got volumetric, that's another one that might give a good performance boost. And shadow quality is also being maxed. But we're just going to try one thing at a time. We don't want to turn too many things down, and we'll get like a good FPS boost, but we won't know which setting actually did it. So we'll just leave that and see if we improved a bit. No, turning the RTX down slightly made like virtually no difference. So this is just a really intensive scene. Good for testing. So now we can literally... Actually, one more quick test, because before we turn RTX off completely, we will go to 1440p and 1080p just to see if RTX is playable at these lower resolutions, because we might jump up in FPS, and then there's obviously no need to turn RTX off if you can get like a good 60 plus in this type of game, seeing as it's more of a RPG. We want to keep, yes, and so now we're at 1440p, and we do get a nice 60 FPS, 64. That detail does look really good. Texture quality is great. So this is what you can expect. You can actually run medium RTX with the 6700 XT. You can see the utilization's at 99%, so we are GPU bound. I'm just trying to look around a bit. Don't worry about the 0.1%. They are so unnoticeable. If I shake the camera fast enough, they will... Oh, they're not even dropping. It's really stable. And I guess, now that we've established that 1440p is good, we could actually try... Sorry, this menu is really annoying. You can't slide this. I have to scroll with the mouse wheel or use my arrow key to get through it. We could actually try turning the ray tracing back to high just to see what it was doing at 1440p. Okay, we're not going to touch anything else. And yeah, it's like... Maybe change the lighting on the building a little bit. I don't know. Could have already been like that. It does affect lighting. So yeah, maybe we're getting a bit better light quality in this area. The light filtering through the trees, as you can see here. The FPS still looks very playable. It's slightly lower. It's like about 5 FPS lower on the average. Reset the counter. So if I just stay staring at the scene, 65 FPS, 1% low 60, and then we'll turn that ray tracing back to medium, which seems like the more optimal setting. Like if you're trying to optimize and you want the best image quality, medium would be the best. And now we're up at, yeah, like I said, 65, 60, and now we're at 69, 67. So it is around 4 or 5 FPS running between low and high, and it looks basically the same to me. I mean, we are still getting the light quality shafts, the light filtering through. So it was there before. And now we're going to see how high we can push it, because I know some of you might be running 144 hertz at 1440p. We'll quickly go back down to 1080p. I think at 1080p it's going to be a breeze to play with this GPU. We'll even do ultra-wide 1080p first, just to give a quick demo. It's literally about the same as, a little bit worse than 1440p because of the. You'd think it would be easier to run because it's 1080 vertical. Like it should be higher FPS than 2560 by 1440 because it's 25. Or maybe because it's 2580. Sorry. No, it's 2560 by 1080. So it's lower than 1440p, but it's harder to run. I guess from the aspect ratio. It must be something to do with the aspect ratio. Anyway, down to 1080p, and we'll see if anything else changes. And we're up at a nice 70-ish FPS. Not a big difference, actually. Not a big jump. It's like a 5 FPS jump. So it is an intensive game. You can see the utilization is still at 99. Okay, so now that we've done that, we have to do the testing for the high refresh rate gamers. I know that you probably, like, to be honest, it shouldn't matter in this kind of game. It's not competitive, but some of you do like the smoothness. So what we'd do for testing that is we could try low. We'll try it real quick. 1080p low. Yeah, it still didn't give a massive boost. So you're not going to get high refresh rates out of this game if 1080p low ray tracing is only 75. Then we will try turning ray tracing off, because I think that's probably the biggest FPS hit out of all the settings enabled at the moment. So RT off. Might take a sec. And look at that. That is crazy. What kind of FPS hit was that? That was like 100 FPS hit. More than 100 for ray tracing, and look at the light shafts. They're still there. They might have just been like a bit more. What I've always thought of ray tracing like this, it makes the calculations and the dynamics of like light and shadows more accurate to real life. But when you're playing a game, no one's like going to go, well, the light shaft's hitting here, and judging by the position of the sun and the alignment, of the clouds, the shadows should fall here, and like no one's actually going to. Well, maybe there are people that do that, but no one's really going to care about that stuff. They just want to say, oh, there's light shafts. Cool. Like, that's about it. So, fake light shafts, without the accuracy of ray tracing, still look great. And ray tracing is stupid as far as enabling it for this game is concerned. And we've kept everything else maxed. Did I turn anything else off? No, we are down at 1080p. Fidelity CAS increases rendering quality. I have not reduced the image quality, but I can turn this off and the variable rate shading off just to make sure that they're not the ones also boosting FPS by a bit. I mean, they are, but it won't matter that much. So, yeah, it's still roughly the same. I don't know if you can notice a detailed difference on this video. Okay. Now we'll go back up to 1080p ultra-wide. See what we get. So yeah, you can run 144 Hz with the 5700 XT. Looks like it's capable. And we haven't even turned shadows down. It's on max. Shadows are on maximum, guys. So there's that. And then we'll turn the two settings that I was playing with this, what is it? The Fidelity FX CAS improves rendering quality while maintaining lower load. So it basically should improve the image. As you can see in the before and after screenshot, it can increase sharpness and clearness, so clarity. And then FX TAA is actually maxed because it's adding. It's not just TAA. You're getting two things. Or maybe it's lowering quality a little bit, going by the left picture. But I honestly cannot tell. TAA looks a little bit sharper by itself. So maybe FXAA is like using FXAA instead of full TAA. So it might be a lower setting. We'll keep it on TAA just to make sure, because that's going to be more intensive. And I'll go back down to 1080p. We've got to actually make sure we're testing this stuff properly. And yeah, we're still at a high, with TAA only, we're still at a very high frame rate for 1080p. I don't know why you get this card for 1080p, but hey, if it's what's available and you want to max things out, it's definitely more than capable of it. And Fidelity Kakao is just better ambient occlusion with AMD. Like, you wouldn't just use SSAO if you can use Fidelity FX. It's kind of like using NVIDIA's own settings, but the AMD version. And we don't need to turn anything else down, really. We want to keep it all maxed. And now we're going to start going up in resolution. So, that's the UltraWide TAA. Sorry, we'll leave TAA on because we don't want to have a lower image quality with FXAA. It looks like TAA by itself is higher image quality. So FXAA, it doesn't show you, like, you could also tell by the memory usage dropping that it's not changing. So really, I'm only going by this left image over here. It looks higher quality with TAA only. Sorry, my kids were just coming in the room screaming in the background. Okay, now we're going to go up in resolution, back up to 1440p. Yes. And 112 FPS. So to get this up to 144 plus, obviously we can't. It wouldn't make sense to aim for 165. But to get this up to 144, we could probably turn the FXAA back on, and mesh quality we want to leave. The main one would be volumetric or screen space, but you don't want to lose all your reflections. As you can see, that's a drastic quality difference, especially in water areas or reflective floors. So we don't want to turn that off. Volumetric light, however, is a setting that, unless you turn it completely off, it's to do with like light shafts and the dust lighting up in the room and things like that. But obviously, turning it down can boost FPS a bit. So volumetric lighting, high. Let's leave it there for now. We'll see what the FXAA does alone. So still only 124, which is still really good. And now we'll go down to, or up. The volumetric, we'll try medium. So we're on 122, it's not helping too much. I don't know if this is pure volumetric, the light shafts here in this area, because it could be an indoor thing. Because there are different ways to do light shafts. But we shall try turning it all the way down. We'll go through all of it, because without turning off the reflections completely. Screen space, I mean. So volumetric low now. Does that give a boost? As my mouth pops up. It looks like, nah, it's not going to give us a consistent anything worth noting, unless I turn it off completely, which, you know, then you'd have to compare. Is it better to lose reflections or lose the volumetrics altogether? But then shadow quality, shadow quality is another one we could turn down instead of losing our volumetric light. Because as you can see, that is also a drastic difference. Shadow quality going down will just give us slightly less shadow detail, but we might be able to squeeze a few more FPS out without the large visual impact of disabling the above. So we could leave that on low, and we were on max. We'll just try high, and we won't contact shadows because they do look really good as well. So shadow quality from max to high. I think that did give an FPS boost. Maybe. No, it's still dropping, like, looking around, is it not to drop it? This doesn't look like a shadow-heavy scene, but there is shadowing. Like, it's literally there on the trees, on the awnings. It's just subtle, like, it's realistic the way that they've done the shadowing. So, there is definitely shadows in the scene, and if I look up, look at the FPS go up. Looking away from these shadowy areas and the volumetrics. Now, this is a volumetric heavy area, so just as one more test, oh, maybe it's taken a while to render those lower quality shadows in, because the FPS has increased. Is it from my angle of looking? I mean, I was looking at this house mostly. Yeah, it has gone up a little bit. So maybe it just took some time to swap out the max quality to high. So that does look like a viable... Like, sorry for being a bit all over the place, but I'm kind of witnessing this with you. So I'm noticing the frame rate changing after a little bit, like not straight away. So if we want to keep this stuff turned up, we can lower this maybe down to medium. Like you can see in the picture, it's not drastically reducing the quality of the shadowing. Maybe ambient occlusion is covering some of the shadows around the awnings, so it's not a big deal. But we'll see. We'll notice anyway. But medium, and we got to wait a little bit, as you saw, it took a moment for the frame rate to change. Could even just be from walking around looking at the right. Like if I look up there, is that affecting the clock speed? The dynamic boost? No, it looks like we're around 135. So yeah, we can't do too much to get it any higher. It looks like you can still play on 144 Hz, obviously. You don't have to have exactly 144 FPS to take advantage. Basically anything above 100 or 60 would still be beneficial on a 144 Hz. But we'll just see how hard volumetric is hitting, because even on low, it could be significant enough. There's not really any reflections in this scene anyway. We went up. We were dropping to 128 before, and now we're still a little bit of a drop. But I think it'll climb, especially when we're not moving, it'll climb up to 130 plus a lot easier. And we're still getting the light shaft, so volumetric's not affecting outdoor light shaft. Even though the picture difference, the image quality picture was showing that it affects light shaft, it appears to be an indoor light shaft setting. This freaking menu, like, why can I not just grab this slider? So yeah, like, see the light shafts there? It's for indoors, so we have to actually test that somewhere else. I don't know if I'll have enough time. But what does low look like? Do we lose a ton of shadows? Like, we can't turn shadows off, obviously. So, I don't know, we'll leave that on. We'll leave that on high. I guess it wasn't really doing anything. It's the shadow quality that must have been giving us most of the gains. And, yeah, exactly. So when I turned the shadow quality down to low, that's where we got the most noticeable FPS boost. It actually went up to 144, 140. Yeah, it's going up to 140 very easily with these shadows turned to low. And we're still getting good shadowing. Like, it doesn't... The scene actually doesn't look... We've got the ambient occlusion going that's giving depth to all the structures. And just to make sure that I'm not speaking about the wrong thing, we will quickly turn ambient occlusion, which, as you can see in the before and afters, the fidelity FX definitely does look better. The shading looks a bit better to me. And the light from the lamp actually looks more accurate. But if I turn it off, you can see you lose a lot of that shadowy depth. But I'm not 100% sure. Again, it could be for indoor objects. It might not even affect furniture that much. The furniture textures could have built-in shadowing. Like, they actually have shading on the texture itself to give it the depth. So if we go off, the buildings might still look like they got plenty of shadow on low. The gate might have lost some. Yeah, the gate lost a little bit of depth. And look at our frame rate now with the ambient occlusion on. So I think we did lose some detail, but we still have really high texture quality. So that is saving saving the image from losing all its depth. The texture quality itself has a lot of detail. So normally when you turn ambient occlusion off, something like this would turn flat. You wouldn't actually have shading around the edges of the wood frames. But because it's such a high quality texture, like unless I go really close, because it's such a high quality texture, the normal shadows and texture itself has shading on it. So it still has a bit of depth. So yeah, you could actually shoot for 165 FPS at 1440p by simply disabling ambient occlusion. If you do want that super smooth gameplay, and you'll still have good detail. And now, just staring at this gate, just to make sure, because I noticed it, but if you weren't paying attention, if you don't know where to look, you can have a second look with it turned on. Seeing the lattice work here, there's just, when you stand further back, there's just a bit more depth to it. It's subtle, but it helps. And we'll try turning the normal ambient occlusion. But it says ambient lighting, so it's not like we're getting strong lighting here anyway. It might not even be doing that much on the lattice work. It looks like it to me, but I could be suffering this placebo effect right here. We need some ambient lighting like this up here, like this one. So that is creepy. Okay. So if I disable ambient occlusion in this scene, the shadowing around the candles and even the frame here, it should just look flatter. We'll see what happens. It's hard because the menu is really jarring, and it's kind of like you forget what the image looks like, and the time it takes to go out and change it. Yeah, it is really subtle. So there's still shadowing, but it's not as dark around this candle holder. I don't even know if that's worth running, given the FPS hit. Like, I mean, look at this. We're on 200 looking at this goat thing. The candle still has really good texture quality. And then if we turn it up, without changing the scene, the ambient occlusion is tanking the FPS for what looks like a very minimal difference. Like, I almost can't tell. It does look a bit darker around the goat too, but it is super hard to tell. And we're down at 160. We lost like 20-30 FPS to do that. Let's just take a look. We need like a better... Oh. It's a warding goat. Okay. We need a better angle. Can I jump in here? Or can I get inside? Okay. We need to look at the goat, the shadowing around its neck, and its legs, to see if it's actually even changing, because it seems weird that it's not making as drastic an impact as I thought it would. So we'll go to SSAO first, the standard without the fidelity, see if there's a change. Yeah, it does. It looks lighter. It looks more like there's more light coming through. It's not being diffused as much, because Fidelity FX is meant to improve it a little bit. There's light coming under the goat's legs. And if I put that back up, there's more light coming through, I should say. If I put that back up, freaking... There. Yeah. No. Yeah? Where are we standing? I'm going mad, guys. Anyway, I think they're about the same, the two different SSAO modes. Just the fidelity one might be slightly better than all. Yeah, the whole goat looks lighter. It's lighter, it's not as dark. You've seen this, right? Yeah, I'm just gonna say head on. Okay, see that shadow on the goat's chin? Let's see if that's being affected by ambient or if that's just a normal shadow effect. I'm gonna turn the ambient back on. Well, it was off, so maybe it's not doing anything to do with dynamic shadows. It could just be the shading around something that should be dark. Yeah, it's not affecting that. Maybe it looks a little bit bigger. Was it that big before? So the whole lower chin gets covered. And this setting kind of stuff to diagnose. It does say ambient light. These candles are ambient light. I'm spending way too long with ambient occlusion. Turn it off one more time. I want to see if the whole chin is being covered. It is. So it's a subtle effect, and I don't know if it's worth losing. What about here? This is ambient lighting on a creepy ass door.
Guess this leads to the castle.
Okay. So normally the ambient occlusion, if it's working the way it does in this game, because normally it should just add depth to almost anything, but if it works properly the way it does in this game, everything lit up by these torches should have more depth when I turn it up. Seeing as the little goat wasn't that helpful, or when I turn it off, it should lose depth. So it was off. Yeah, I can't really tell. Maybe it looks like the shadowing's a little bit better. Like, seriously? We lose a ton of performance for that? What's it doing? I don't know. So it looks like a good setting to turn off. For me, at least. I can't tell too much, but I'm seeing the FPS drop to 140-ish. Just to double check, we're around 140. And if we simply turn it off and the ambient light shines on the door like normal, we gain 20 FPS. And I'm finding it hard to tell the difference. It's the same, like, because it doesn't matter where you're looking. If the setting is doing something, it matters if you're looking at something it should be affecting, because when I look away, oh great, it drops over here. But I mean, when I was just staring at this, we were getting FPS drop by just turning it on. So, yeah, it is affecting it. Wait, the game's crashed. What's happened? The client's crashed. Wait, I don't think the driver's crashed. I think the game is still, because it is a demo. Did the driver crash or not? How could it recover and keep recording? I'm just checking that my driver's fine. Tuning, yeah, everything's fine here. And my recording is still going. It is a game issue. So the game just froze on me. I can just close that. Yeah. End task. So the recording is stable. It wasn't the driver crashing. It appears to be just a game bugged out. Maybe I was spending too long judging it and it got mad. But now that we found those optimal settings at 1440p, ambient occlusion off, ray tracing off, this is for like higher frame rate gaming with minimal image quality loss. Now we can, hopefully we've got enough time. Maybe it kicked me out because I already reached an hour. It's only 34 minutes, so. Yeah, we're at 31 minutes. So I have to just, not letting, because I'm in full screen mode. I have to have something in the background to alt-tab to properly. I just have to restart Afterburner because the benchmark tool stops working when you restart stuff in the middle of doing a benchmark. So back to village, casual, and it should hopefully, I don't know if it saved the settings we were testing. We'll see if that cutscene replays.
In life and
Oh,
in
nice.
death, we give glory.
Hello? You shouldn't be out here. It's not safe. What the hell? Hey,
And now
can
we
you
can
hear
see
me?
how much the frame rate affected the
It's
lip sync.
you?
Yeah.
The child's father.
Child? Hey, wait. Do you mean Rose? Is she here?
Rose! Rose, yes. She is in great danger.
Yeah, it's only got skip.
Rose is here?
Yeah, the texture code is amazing. So yeah, we've kind of been through that. We've figured it out. The frame rate takes a significant impact from ambient occlusion. I'm even wondering how ray tracing would do with the ambient occlusion off. If I turn that ray tracing back on, do we get better frame rates? I mean, theoretically we should. With the ray tracing even on high, didn't seem to make as much difference. The ambient occlusion is being affected by the ray tracing? I'm getting confused now. Ambient occlusion changes due to enabling ray tracing too. That's this. Yeah, it does. We lost it. We lost the normal. So we can still turn it off with ray tracing on. I didn't realize it. I thought it was just affecting these two. It was actually affecting the mechanic of ambient occlusion as well. So now it's still ambient lighting, but the picture's changed, and it's showing the detailed depth of objects, I guess. So we'll try turning it off and see how ray tracing at 1440p. Getting about 85 FPS. Did it affect? Yeah, it took a lot of the shadowing away from here, from these, like, near the candles. Wait. I think it did. But that could just be the accuracy. Could have taken the shadowing away because of accuracy. So if I disable enable ambient occlusion, sorry. There's more shadowing. Oh, it's so hard to tell. It's really it's weird. These settings are like subtle, but they're obviously doing something. I go back up to my wall. Ray tracing. The candles are less dark with ray tracing on. The candle holders, I mean. They don't have as much shadowing on them. Maybe that's accurate. It actually looks less accurate to me to have no shadowing underneath because the light is coming from above. But if I turn it off, it really is weird how ray tracing works. Like accuracy, but then looks worse. Doesn't look as cool. And yeah, ambient occlusion has back to normal. So we'll keep it off for that FPS boost. And yeah, you can see the shadows on the candle holders are back. They're more, just under the lip, there's more shadowing. So you can like backspace the video, just rewind the video a tiny bit to when I had it on if you want to check again. But look at the frame rate now, it's so much better. And finally, with these kind of semi-optimized settings, I would like to call them, everything else is still as it was. Shadow quality's down to low. I wonder if we can turn it back up now. And it was ambient occlusion causing the biggest problem. So yeah, you can have max shadows. I didn't even notice shadows low to max, to be honest. The texture detail is just overwhelmingly good. That shadows don't seem to matter that much, apart from the performance hit. Might matter more indoors. But usually indoors tends to go higher quality. So we'll see about that. Just running around checking stuff for a moment. And now we'll go back up to, because we've kind of optimized a little bit. We'll go back up to 3440 by 4040 and take a look at what we're working with. Around 100 FPS. with the ambient occlusion disabled. Now we can go indoors. This is like the house middle. Whoa, this is actually a better scene for testing that ambient occlusion. Whoa. Okay, I want to test it here. That is the purpose of this video, is for testing how the card handles the settings, and obviously we want to see if there's an image quality loss, because we want the best image quality possible while maintaining a good frame rate. Ambient occlusion, the effects, everything's max, shadows are back to max. There we go. And yeah, we lost about 20 FPS. There's more of a haze now in the room. The image quality is actually harder to see because of that bloom coming off the candles. I'm gonna double check if the bloom is good or bad. Because as you can see, it does affect candlelight. No, it's a room effect. It's like hazing, like this area here, like the light above the candles is affected by what I feel is ambient occlusion. So I'm going to turn bloom back on, but I'm going to turn that ambient occlusion back off, or to SSAO first. Yeah, see it's hazy in the room, the light being cast, even above the rug. The game seriously just crashed again. What is going on? It's like it unlocked an achievement and had to pause. This is buggy ass demo. I don't know. I don't think, because the graphics card, if the graphics card was crashing, which the temps are really good, if there was an issue with the graphics card, the recording itself would be crashing, the driver would be restarting, okay? And if it was the CPU, just for example, if it was stability of the system, would be getting a much more serious error. Like the game would just be hard closing, not freezing. So, I don't know. I could try turning the clocks on the graphics card down a tiny bit just to see if it's something to do with that. I might have it a little high because I turned it up a tiny bit, but this 1100 MV is actually stable up to 2750 megahertz. So, even at, like, for example, if it was unstable at 2650, 2750 would ideally, like, as most people know that do some undervolting and overclocking, if 2650 was unstable, 2750 would crash it. So if I start up 2750 and restart the game and the game launches fine, it's an issue with the game. So I've gone to 2750 to make sure it's not my GPU, to see if the game will immediately crash it at the higher clock speed. But the actual clock speed in-game depends on the load and the dynamics of the GPU. Like, even if it's 2750, it doesn't mean that the GPU is going to sit at 2750, even with an aggressive fan curve. It seems to be a per-game thing. Like, some games will run a higher clock speed, some don't. So it depends how the games are utilizing the architecture. But yeah, really weird. The game seems to have a crashing issue. I could probably Google that to find other people having the same problem. But yeah, okay, as you can tell, like, I've turned it up. My clock speed is actually higher in-game now. Because that's the effect. The only thing I don't like about running 2750 is...
Glory.
How do I skip this?
Hello? You shouldn't be out here. It's not safe. What the hell? Hey, can you hear me?
Was I spamming buttons too much?
It's you, the child's father.
Child? Hey, wait. Do you mean Rose? Is she here?
Rose! Rose, yes. She is in great danger.
So as you can see, the
Since
game
Mother
bugging
Miranda
up.
brought her to the village, we have fallen into darkness.
Try loading it.
What are you talking about? The monsters?
So default is this. I'll show you the default settings. 2689.
The castle bell
around about
heralds danger. They're coming.
But
No.
I'll just see if the...
Wait.
Yeah, it's frozen.
Where's Rose? Who's
If I hit
Mother
apply,
Miranda?
The bell
this is the
tolls
default
for us
performance.
all. They're coming again.
The game is just buggy, from what I can tell. I'm gonna load back up my 2750, the higher one, and yes, I'm aware. Maybe you think it's the driver now. I mean the undervolt. It's because I was spamming buttons as well. It could be something to do with input. I was pressing a lot of buttons before, like really quickly going in and out of the menu. So I'm still running that 2750 1100 MB. And mind you, that's the hotspot temp we're looking at. That's not the standard lower temp. It's the hottest temp on the core. So I'm going to try not pressing anything on that cutscene. I think it was because I was spamming buttons. I was trying to skip it, and it froze when I kept pressing
In
stuff.
life and in death, we
So let's see if
give
it crashes
glory.
again.
Hello? You shouldn't be out here. It's not safe.
Yeah.
What the hell?
It
Hey,
is running
can you
stable.
hear me?
It's you, the child's father.
Child? Hey, wait. Do you mean Rose? Is she here?
Rose! Rose, yes.
It's not.
She is
Maybe it is my under... I mean, it's possible. It's possible the undervolt could be unstable given the higher load of Resident Evil. It is placing a different kind of load on the GPU. So if I go to defaults, which is... Default is 100%. So basically, if I turn off the advanced control and change this to 100 and put it to 100, that's the default. And I click apply, and you can actually just turn it back, and you'll see what it's turned to. So 2699, 1200, roughly, give or take. And I'll just leave that like that, and we'll see if we get a bit more stability. It could honestly just be that. I'm amazed that the recording has not bugged out though, because on previous drivers and with the older Navi cards, RX 5700, if the driver and stability was causing a game to crash, everything would crash. The driver would crash. It would not maintain stability. The driver would just be, it would say your undervolt is unstable. So there is a chance that maybe I've cached too much stuff. I've been changing settings. There's also a chance that me doing that is what has caused the game to start freezing up. I've like cached too much stuff because I've just been turning things on and off. And it is a demo, so it's not really designed to, I don't know, it could have had a caching problem. And there's no way to clear the cache. Like some games will give you a cache reset option. So I could try turning shadow cache off, just as a workaround. Free up some VRAM. Just to see. And I have disabled the undervolt. This is running at 100% speeds.
In
See if it
life
still
and in
freezes.
death, we give glory.
Hello? You shouldn't be out here. It's not safe.
See, the hotspot's much higher.
Hey, can you hear me?
It's you, the child's father.
Child? Hey, wait. Do you mean Rose? Is she here?
Rose!
Rose is here?
Okay, so it was an instability. Looks good. Now we are going to see slightly higher performance because I'm not undervolted, but the temps are going to be kind of annoyingly high. Let's see here. Got to restart Afterburner to get my benchmark running again. I don't think we're going to see like drastically different frame rates though, because of the way the game seems to be utilizing the GPU. We were in this house. I was testing in this house. So, got the counter back. Okay, sorry about that, guys. And we're going to, let's see here, disable SSAO. And I was going to say it gets rid of the haze in the room. The room just looked really hazy. That could be ambient occlusion, but it doesn't look as bad now. I'm still noticing it. It might be, also be a combination of volumetric lighting. No, it's still doing this weird aura. Like the room, the air is lit up almost. Shadow cache. What if it was shadow cache? Because I did turn that off just in case it was occasionally. So if I turn that back on and we get freezes again, no, because I've reset the card to default with a high fan curve. So back to high, ambient occlusion. We'll just leave it on. because I'm not shooting for high FPS right now. Leave everything else as it was. Variable rate shading, we want that performance boost. And we're at 135. Did I turn ambient occlusion off? I've got to double check on my settings again. Indoors usually does run higher FPS. Yeah, we still got it on. So it seems to be that indoors is just not as intensive, so that's a nice thing to know. Staring at some candles, and maybe the trees will causing the performance issues before. The open doors, no. I guess it would light up, yeah. Easy to pick up. What happened? What? No. Just looking for items. Wow. Paper, lichens. Nice. There's lichens. Ooh, gunpowder. Oh, I'm finding all these items now. Before. I get in the basement now? No. I'm gonna make that noise. Okay, so this isn't the gameplay test anyway, so I want to keep testing other things. What I want to do now is, just because I'm a bit irked about my undervolt not running properly, I'm going to set it back on and see if the game crashes, and I want my temps to go back down. And we'll just see if the game keeps running fine or if it freezes up. Because the undervolt was running perfectly fine for all the testing at the start. Now frame rate, we can test undervolt versus stock frame rate as well. So as you can see, 111 staring up this staircase. And get back. Right. But leave something that will tab back to. And yeah, it's literally counter. And also having the counter broke again. This is the downside. Like, if you don't know how benchmarking works, this happens to a lot of benchmarkers. The tool will just decide to crap itself, and the button stops working for restarting the benchmark, and you have to restart afterward to get the button working again. Wait for it to be re-inject into the game. Oh. Happy burger. Keep finding my game. So I put that back. There we go. Finally. And yeah, 100. Maybe we went up 5 FPS, 7 FPS. Looks of it. But the temps go up to 70 plus, and I like it nice and cool. But anyway, whatever. We can play like this if you want a bare bones stock. It's just a custom fan profile, but it's a bit noisy. But you can see that the drops are still there. I mean, 98 is still really good. Let's see if it holds that. So 95, 98. And I'll try re-enabling and see if we go to that 95, 98 with the undervolt. Doing a bit of, it's still 6700 XT testing, so it's still relevant. But if the undervolt is, because it's stable in all the other games I've tested, if the undervolt is causing more FPS drop and it's just that slight instability, then at least I can bump the voltage a bit to get it stable. And you can kind of witness how it works. Like, that's how undervolting works. You get an undervolt reading, like value such as 1100 MV, down from 1200 MV. You get a nice temp drop, and then you have to keep tweaking until you get rock solid stability in all the games that you play. And you might have one game that will trigger instability, and for that game, you know that you have to bump the undervolt up a bit, and you could just leave it bumped up just for that stability, or you can slightly lower the megahertz to get it more stable again. So, just loading back the undervolt. we're gonna see if we're getting drops. We were holding like 90 before. We're gonna lose all our demo time. I'm not gonna get to see the miracles of this. Okay, so why the noise? Why the noise? Don't do that. Says I don't play horror games too much on my channel for this reason, because I don't want anyone to hear me screaming. Come on, there we go. I'll wait for that to turn back up. So we were holding around 100 FPS. See if it's dropping much lower now with the undervolt. A little bit low is fine, but if it's dropping to like 40, you'd know there's a problem with stability. Frickin', what the heck was that? What attack? I don't know where it is. That's not. Heck. Why is it just moving around and not attacking me? Can I go over here? What's the... Is it stuck on the stick? It is, it's stuck on the stick. There's a stick in the way. What? Heck. Oh nice, the auto aim blocks the head. So if you can't aim, just leave auto aim on, and it'll right click or lock its head. But that was a zombie, I thought it was a wolf. More zombies out there. Maybe that's a werewolf. Oh, my ammo, but I don't know how to craft it yet. Herbs. There we go. Huh? Yeah. You get. Okay. So 95 1%. I didn't feel any stutters, so that 0.1 was just a, you know, minor.
Close the door, please.
Hey, what are you doing here?
Stay back.
Please, don't hurt us.
Whoa. It's a...
Kind of don't want to give spoilers, I just want to test performance. Very interesting. Interesting. Wait, climb stuff? Climb this? No. Good, I can beat this game with a knife. Open doors but not windows. thing. So yeah, the undervolt seems stable. I'm running the undervolt right now. It's playing fine. So it could have been a caching issue. I did turn the shadow cache on and off. From playing with all those settings, I did turn the shadows down to low and then back up to max. I do want to kind of test, because it does annoy me to see some kind of weird stability issue pop up that seems stability related. So I did turn the shadows back to max. If you were paying attention, I had them on low, right? And then after testing a bit, I was like alt-tabbing out. I don't know, did I alt-tab? And then I can see the usage at 10.813. And then after turning them from low, this annoying menu, I turned them back up to max. I don't know if it'll happen as quick though, because I did go through all of the settings when I did it. So I might have to do a similar thing to reproduce the issue, if that is indeed the problem.
Come on, it's clear.
Hurry! Hurry!
Took your damn time.
Oh, you're welcome.
And while I was talking, trying to figure out this crashing issue.
He's not used to relying on other people. I'm sorry. We'll be safe in here, won't we?
Yeah,
Safer
maybe.
here than out there, that's for sure.
Okay, so the other thing that did seem to cause an instant crash was turning it up higher. So if it is the undervolt going up to 2750, because I'm thinking I might have cleared the shadow cache, and that might have been what fixed it when I turned the shadow caching on and off. So, like simply doing this, if you're getting the crashing issue before you launch back into the game, simply doing that might fix it if there is a problem with caching the shadows.
I'm sure Louisa will help.
So yeah, like it's running now. It's not crashing, and I've got it on the 2750. So yeah, it was not the undervolt. It is perfectly fine with these settings.
Just hold on a bit.
I thought it might have been, but yeah, it's the demo. It is a demo, and demos can have bugs in them. So yeah, back to 2750, back to 1100 MB. That was some live undervolt diagnostics for you. You can kind of see how it works. You basically do that kind of thing when you encounter instability. You try to get to the bottom of it and see if you can reproduce it. But my guess is it was a shadow cache issue, something to do with it. Something was cached that was causing a crash. Maybe it was trying to reload.
So much blood.
Two shadow, like low and max at the same time. Low could have been cached and it was trying to load max when I turned it to max, and then that is what crashed it. Like it literally just froze up, and it wasn't a temperature freeze. So, but as you can see, running 2750 does have the hotspot back up at 69. There's nothing wrong with 69 on the hotspot. It's well within operating range. But if you just like to run your GPU a little bit cooler, it's like the performance difference is minor, in my opinion. I do need to 2750, 1100, 650. The fan profile on this one is better for keeping the temp down. So I could go 2750, apply, save, and that'll just put the higher fan speed to keep it under 70. But I can hear the fan audibly at this setting.
Hello? Anybody home?
No one's home. Anyway, guys, I hope you got a good idea of how the 6700 XT can perform, and a little bit how undervolting and overclocking works, as well as diagnosing just a simple game crash, which I'm sure some people would literally go to jump to Reddit and be trying to search, why is my game crashing? It could be something as simple as a caching issue, and playing with settings can actually fix that kind of thing, especially to do with caching, because caching is something that can bug out in certain games.
Come inside, the others are waiting.
Or it could just be an unsolvable crash that's just a bug in the demo.
Fuck is this?
Yeah.
Outsiders, you're gonna get us all killed.
Quiet, Anton.
Yeah, I don't want to ruin the story, to be honest. What the heck? I just ruined the story. So yeah, if I play the demo properly, I will show you the story. But this was testing, and I don't think I'm gonna get time to play through it with the time left. I've got 7 minutes left to actually play. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. If you want me to test, I mean, we could quickly try jumping in. If I don't know if it'll quit out of the whole game. We could quickly try jumping into the castle to see if there's a big difference. But as you can see, like, the performance is really nice with this card, as long as you keep ray tracing, or more importantly, the ambient occlusion setting turned down. The ray tracing too, they're both bad. But ambient occlusion's fine, actually. I think it was just the ray tracing that was the main detriment. It depends what kind of frame rate you're aiming for, though. Okay, anyway, who cares? At least I think I've jumped around the settings enough. I don't know why they have 2 versions in here. You only get an hour to test them both. Kinda sucks. So maybe I'll just play this properly. I'm going to turn my mic off and just play through 7 minutes of this demo. And please like and subscribe if you enjoyed my random testing and the issues I had to work through with these. Yeah.
Where have they taken Rose?
Oh, we meet again.
Duke? Why are you here?
Where there's coin to be made. And have you found your daughter?
No.
If she is truly here, the lady of the castle would have kept little Rose in her private chambers, would she not?
Domitresk?
Well then, feel free to peruse. Please do take a look at my news. Thank you for your patronage.